Okay, so what we said in class to defend this, the alterity of the human person as distinct from all other creatures. This alterity, we said, is constituted by self-awareness, wondering, insights, and then because we have insights through our questioning, we can manipulate the world through a multitude of inventions. So, um, the way we've been explaining the alterity of the human person is basically, as Aristotle said, we know the power of a thing through its acts. We know through the acts. We know through the acts. If we observe the thing, we can tell what kind of power it has. And when you watch the human person, you are able to see this self-awareness that has the ability to question, which goes to the insight, the act of knowing, the answer to the question, and then from that you have the world of inventions. Okay? Self-awareness, questioning, insight, inventions. And this is the act. When you see those acts, you know that if you have a world where there's cell phones and coffee pots and air conditioners and cars and jets and computers, all these inventions show that there's insight going on, which means that there's questions going on, which means there's a self-awareness. All right. Now, the question is raised, well, Mr. Moeller, there's these monkeys that can make these primitive tools. They can grab a rock and crack something open and eat it. Doesn't that show they're self-aware? So the question about, now we have the question of the monkey that's able to use the rock, as you guys say, as some kind of, you want to say, a primitive tool. And if the monkey's able to take the rock and break something open so he can get something to eat, doesn't that show that he's doing this up here? All right. Now, one of the things we said was that, this process of self-awareness, questioning, insights, and inventions that is strictly human, one of the things we said about that process is this, what we call it a progression. We call it a progression. What we said about that progression is that it's a cumulative. It never stops, Once we have the insights into certain questions we ask, that raises further questions. We have further insights, so forth and so on. So, there wasn't a microwave in 1940, but now there is because of further questions and insights. Inventions keep accumulating, all right? So it's a cumulative. It never ends. It keeps accumulating, increasing, developing, advancing. All right, so one of the things you can say about this right here, the monkey rock thing, the primitive tool to get some food, in the animal kingdom, you might see these slight little acts of like some animals being able to do something like this, but there is no accumulation, ever. There is no development of tools. It's a rock cracking something open, right? So this accumulative nature of this progression up here, which is strictly human, all right? We only see the accumulation of inventions, insights, questions, and so forth, in the human species. All right, now, the answer to the question about the monkey and the rock and why that is not an example of self-awareness You can only answer that question by understanding that how important this accumulation of questioning and insight and inventions is. That's the key to understanding the monkey rock question. All right, it's this understanding what this accumulation is all about. Now, the question is, what makes accumulation possible? Why is it that we're able to, ask a question, get an insight, and make something, and then ask a further question, further insight, make something new? Why are we able to do that? Why is this accumulation possible? How is it possible? Well, it's possible. The accumulation is possible once you understand the nature of self-awareness and wonder. You have to understand what its nature is, okay? So, nature of self-awareness, wonder. Now, the nature of self-awareness and wonder is that these acts they're what we call unrestricted. They're unrestricted. Now, unrestricted means they're not restricted by anything. There's nothing that holds them down into some kind of limit. They're not constituted by limits. Not constituted by limits. All right, so you have something that you have to make a distinction now between what we mean something that's restricted and something that's unrestricted. And that's going to answer the monkey rock question. All right. Once you understand the difference between the unrestricted and the restricted, once you understand this distinction between what's unrestricted and restricted, that's going to solve the problem with the monkey and the rock. Okay? Monkey and the rock question. All right. Now, here's an example of a restriction. None of us can marry a woman that was born in 1830 because history restricts us. We're restricted by time. We can't do that, okay? So time is an example of something that's restricted. Can't marry a woman from 1830. That's a restriction. Time represents a restriction. We can't go back in the past. Cannot go back in the past. Here's another example. You and I can't decide who our biological parents are going to be. That's, our biological parents are. It's just determined when we're conceived. It's not something we can. We're restricted by that. We can't just choose who our biological parents are going to be. We cannot choose biological parents. Okay? We can't choose our biological parents. It's a restriction. But when you look at self-awareness and wonder, okay, there's no restriction. the nature of wonder. You can think about anything forever, okay, as long as you're alive. All right. There is no restriction to the act of wonder. You can just keep asking a further question and a further question and a further question. It just goes on forever, right? It's unrestricted. Its nature is being unrestricted. It's not restricted. All right. Now, imagine for a moment that you had a self-aware creature. All right, let's say you had a self-aware creature that could not wonder. All right, so if you have a self-aware creature that could not wonder, well, that means it's self-awareness. If it could not wonder, then the self-awareness would be locked in alreadiness. Okay, and if it's locked in alreadiness, it ain't self-aware. So you got to have these two things together. See, if the self-aware creature could not wonder, then he would be trapped in alreadiness. And if he was trapped in alreadiness, he wouldn't be self-aware. Okay. Now let's say you had a creature that could wonder, but he wasn't self-aware. Well, that would be meaningless because he wouldn't even know he's wondering. So his wondering would be absurd. Okay. So the point is that, if you can wonder but are not self-aware, then you wouldn't even be aware of your own wondering, and therefore it would be meaningless. So what's the point of all this? The point of all this is that this stuff comes together. See, self-awareness and wonder are a package deal. That's a package deal, baby. All right, and as a package deal, unrestricted. It can't be anything but unrestricted. It has no limits. There's no limits to the act of questioning. It's by its very nature unrestricted. And because it's unrestricted, that's why there's the accumulation. See? The accumulation of the insights and so forth and so on, the inventions, the questioning is all made possible by the unrestricted nature of self-awareness and wonder. Okay, so what we're saying is that by definition, if there's self-awareness, there's wonder, and those two things are in their essence unrestricted. And therefore, if they are unrestricted, there would always be, in a self-aware being that can wonder, there would always be an accumulation of questions, insights, and inventions. All right, so self-awareness plus wonder equals unrestricted. Unrestriction equals accumulation. So if you don't see any accumulation, that means there's nothing unrestricted going on, which means this is not happening. Okay? No accumulation in the animal kingdom. That means there's nothing unrestricted. That means this is not happening. Because this is, by its very essence, unrestricted. Bam. All right? So the question becomes, well, then what the hell's this monkey doing with how can it do this rock thing? Okay? If that's all true, how can it do the rock thing? How can the monkey use the rock as a tool? All right. We still haven't totally explained that yet. All right, let me give you another example that's a little bit simpler, and then we can go to like the monkey and the rock. All right. So this student was telling me once that he's got this dog, all right? And what happens is these people go through this door, to go to to go outside or something, or I don't know where the door leads to, maybe to a bedroom or something. But there's this door, and the door has one of these like long handles on it that you can kind of flip. You flip it down, and that'll open the door, and you can go through the door. So what the dog has done through its experiences of sense experience, it has witnessed that if you push this lever down, if you push this lever thing down, then this door opens up and you can go through it. All right. So what the dog figures out is the dog starts doing this thing where it starts leaping up and grabbing the door handle and pushing it down, and then it goes through the door. Okay. So what you have here is, it's pretty simple what's going on. All right. The dog is having two sense experiences. Well, he's having two different sense experiences. Two different sense experiences. All right. Now, the one sense experience it's having is like, the pushing down of the handle, right? And then the other sense experience it has is that open door, push handle, open door. Now, all the dog is doing is putting together the sense experiences. Okay? It's not an act of questioning and wondering and understanding. It's just sense experience. It's just one sense experience and another sense experience that he's had. He puts the two together, and here's the thing. Why does he do it? Because he wants to go outside. See, he's driven by this urge. He has this urge to go outside. Everything the animal does, everything, is to satisfy some kind of urge, because they're locked in the alreadiness. See? So, the dog wants to go outside. It has witnessed over and over again one sense experience that when you push the handle down, the door opens, bam, he gets outside. So all he has to do is like put these sense experiences together, a correlation, right? It's called a correlation. Correlation. And then what does he get? The satisfaction of the urge. All right. You don't need any self-awareness. You don't need any, act of questioning and wondering or anything else. Okay. Now, let's say that there was something jamming the door, like there was something in the handle jamming it, like I don't know, a piece of wood or something. Just something was in there jamming it, and when you pushed it down, it wouldn't open. The dog, in a zillion years, wouldn't be able to figure out that. Okay? Because in order to figure out why it's jammed, you have to ask a question. See? He could never, ever solve jamness. Never solve the jam. He could never be able to do it. Never. Because that involves this ability to separate yourself from the sense experience, look at it, and ask a question like, why isn't it this door opening? Can't do that. Why? Because he's not self-aware. He's not wondering. He's not, having insights, so forth and so on. He's simply having the immediate sense experience. And guess what? He's got that urge, see? He's got that urge. He's got that urge that he has to go outside. And he wants to satisfy it. All right? Boom, 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 boom. That's what he's doing. That's all there is to it. Okay, I want to give you another example. If you have a monkey in a room and you have a bunch of bananas, let's say, hanging in this up in the ceiling, like in a corner, all right? And underneath the bananas, right underneath the bananas, you have a bunch of boxes, okay? So the monkey's looking at the bananas hung up on the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling, and there's all these boxes underneath the bananas. Because he's having the sense experience of the bananas and the boxes at the same time, and he can see that the boxes, create height, right? He can figure out to stack up the boxes and grab the bananas, okay? Because he can put the two sense experiences together because he wants those bananas real, real bad, all right? However, if the boxes are in some other location, like in a different room or, far away, where he has to figure out this, where he has to ask the question like to himself, how can I get those? He can't do it. Not in a zillion years. If you have all these boxes in another room and he's seen them in there, and then you bring them into the room where the bananas are, not in a zillion years will he go back into this other room, get the boxes and bring them in. He can't do that. He can't correlate. He can't have the concept in his mind of height and boxes and bananas if they're separated from one another. They have to be in the immediate sense experience. All right. So he, where's my, all right. So the boxes and the bananas, they have to be seen together. All right, they have to be seen together. I'll give you another example. My dog, if I put like a bowl down, like I've eaten something out of a bowl, and like I put it down next to her dish on the kitchen floor, and she starts licking. Let's say it's like a plastic bowl, and she starts licking, and it starts moving all over the floor because the kitchen floor is like tile, it's slick. Well, she'll pick it up and she'll bring the bowl into the next room that has carpeting, and the carpeting like makes the plastic thing not move, and she'll do that because then it won't move around and she can eat it better, right? So the point is this. She's had an experience of eating bowls, these plastic bowls on the carpet, and she has experienced that it doesn't move, and she's experiencing that it moves all around the kitchen. So she just puts the two experiences together, right? She just, moves the bowl she'll pick it up and bring it into the carpet. But if I were to somehow make the carpet slick or change the carpet so it didn't hold the bowl, she would not understand that at all. I could not talk to her about slickness or that I changed the carpet. It would be impossible. All she knows are the two sense experiences, and she's able to put them together. Okay, she can't go somewhere. She can't go up into the bedroom and say, "Wow, I'm going to get rid of that slick carpet and bring some rough carpet down here." She can't do that. But we do that all the time. All right. So let's say I'm this monkey with this rock cracking this thing open to get some food out of it. All right. Once again, driven by sense experience, driven by the urge for the food. That's all it wants is the food. All right. If that rock's not working, it can't ask a question like, "Oh, what would be a better tool? Maybe I should go invent some kind of spear-like thing." Or, something even, maybe I should go invent a better tool to open up this shell. It can't do that because that would be an act of questioning. That would be a further, development of the experience of what's going on there. So it can't do that question. It doesn't develop any further tools. Okay? And the reason is it's because it's not self-aware, because self-awareness has wonder in it. All right, so I think I've answered the question, as good as it can be answered. And if you guys have further questions about it, we'll go from there. Thanks. All right, there's one other thing I want to say. When you have the dog and it's looking at the handle on the door, okay? That, and because he's the dog, the handle means it can go outside. The dog never experiences the handle in any way as something other than itself that's distinct from itself. In other words, the only reason the dog is concerned about the handle, okay, the only reason is because it wants to go outside. In other words, it doesn't know the handle as something distinct from its urge. All right, now listen to what I'm saying there. It does not know the handle as distinct from its urge. In other words, the only reason it's concerned with the handle, the only reason the handle has any meaning to the dog is boom, because it's satisfying an urge. In other words, this handle we could call an other, and what we call it an alterity. But the dog doesn't know the handle as an other in itself, as something distinct from itself. It only knows it as that which somehow is going to satisfy its urge. Okay? He's got the alreadiness, he's got the urge, and he's going to do anything. He's going to, because this is ruling his consciousness, bam, that's why he pushes on the handle. All right? But the human being, we know objects not just as they satisfy us, but we know them as the object in itself. It's, it's a door handle. We can objectify it. We know it as something that's not just existing to satisfy our urge. They can't do that. Everything in the world to them is only known as it relates to them. Okay? Everything is just there how it relates to their satisfaction. All right? It's all about what they're trying to get something. Everything, all the otherness in the world for the animal is just to satisfy the urge. It's all about them. Okay, so here's a way of saying it. The dog cannot contemplate the door handle as something distinct from his immediate urge. Okay? It has no meaning to him outside of that. It has no meaning other than his alreadiness. That's all it is. It's just in relationship to his alreadiness.